Irritrol makes an indoor and outdoor version of their popular Rain Dial sprinkler timer. In this video, my son Josh will show you how to replace your current timer with a new outdoor version of the Rain Dial timer. As of 2021, the indoor and outdoor versions both have the same cabinet, so installation is pretty much the same, but I'll show you an indoor Rain Dial timer installation in an upcoming video. Before we get started, I'd like to preface this video with a few things. First, this video was actually recorded in April 2015 when Josh was still a partner in our business before he moved to Indiana. As you'll see in this video, we had a lot of fun working together in these now retro videos.
Marker.
Back then, we were so busy with work during the day and bids and other desk work at night that we had no time to create videos and upload them. So we recorded a boatload of content that has yet to see the light of day. This video is the first of those to be introduced to you. The camera was our first decent camera, but the zoom was jumpy. Another thing to address was the street noise. We were next to a busy street. I did my best in editing to reduce that noise. I hope you enjoy the video as much as I've enjoyed working on it. Now let's get on with the installation.
Hi, I'm Josh with Linear Landscapes and Sprinkler Pros, and today we're going to be replacing a timer. So I wanted to go over the two options that we typically put in for folks in exterior sprinkler timers. So if you look over here, we have the Irritrol Rain Dial, and both of these are commercial grade professional timers, and that's all we install. So we have the Irritrol Rain Dial sprinkler timer and the Hunter X-Core. So the Rain Dial is definitely the easiest timer to use on the market, and it's built like a tank, but it's also a little bit more pricey. Over here, because of that, we tend to install more of these, the Hunter X-Core, and it's definitely a comparable choice. Easy to use interface, non-volatile memory, and so we definitely put in a lot of these and we get high customer satisfaction from it. So today, our client actually opted for the Rain Dial, so we're going to be putting that in for them to replace the timer that they're having a problem with right now. So here's what the interface looks like. Super easy. One dial in the middle, little slider at the bottom, and here's the timer that we're working with today. This is a Champion timer, so we really don't like these. They're hard to program, hard to deal with. They're cheap timers, and hopefully they don't make them anymore. This one's pretty old, and this particular timer we're having a lot of trouble inputting, programming into it, getting it to run at all. And so because of that, we've decided to go ahead and replace it. This particular timer has been hardwired into the circuit. In other words, it's plugged directly into the circuit and not into an outlet. So we have to go find which circuit it's on, turn the circuit off, and then take the timer off and replace it with the Irritrol Rain Dial that we're going to be putting in. Marker. up, it's your fault.
What are we looking at? Oh, that screw down there?
Yeah. So this is about all this timer's good for. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and start installing this. The easiest way to install an exterior timer is to take off the lid and all of the other items that you can, because they're bulky in the way, and it just makes installation easier when you can get to the parts you need to faster. So with this timer, we have to take out the hinge pin, put it in the box so you don't lose it, take off the lid, and put all the items that you can in there. So carefully unplug the ribbon, pull off the panel, set that in the box. So now you have just the circuit board, which is what you're going to be plugging the wires and everything into anyway. So this is all you need to install down to the wall. So when we found the other timer, it was actually just set on these pipes. But when we put our timers on, we make sure that there's a seal at all connections. So what we're going to be doing with this is cutting off the pipe here and threading a fitting on to set over the pipe so that it's watertight, but also so that we can keep the spiders and critters out, because spiders have actually been known to cross the terminals and can short out the board. Besides the fact that when you're going in and you're servicing in, you have the spider webs and all the critters running around, and it just makes it a little more difficult. So save the spiders. So the next thing to do is to make a mock setup of what the timer is going to look like. So we cut the male adapter off of the pipe here, put our fittings onto the timer, and slid it on where it's going to be once it's on the wall. So after you do that, you're going to mount it to the wall. So we've placed it where we want it, marked it on the wall, whatever you need to do. First you're going to mark where the hanging screw is going to go on the wall with that mock setup. And then to mount the screws, we use screw anchors. We don't put it straight into the wall because then it'll slide right out. And to drill into the wall, we use a masonry bit, which is specially designed to go into stucco and sheetrock. So as you can see, this is going to slide right onto the assembly here. And right here, this is going to be threaded. So we have to thread it first, and then once that's threaded, this slides up and down. We can slide it directly onto the pipe with the fitting.
High-tech hammer.
Don't say not to.
So you are being recorded.
Cool. Screw there. Set it tentatively. When you set it on there, you want it to be snug just on the hanging screw. So I have it a little bit too far, so it's not hanging. So I'll take it out a little bit. It's snug on that hanging screw. It's not going anywhere. That's what you use to keep the foundation, and then these two here just hold it in place. When I started out this process, before I marked where everything was going to go, I used a level to make sure that we were good to go. Looks aesthetically right, plus it functions better. So put the level on there, get your pencil. We've already drilled the holes through the plastic here. So get it level, hold it firm, and mark on the wall behind it with the pencil. That you can see your marks. Double check. We're good to go. Now we're going to thread on what needs to be threaded. So that's the transformer part of it. Slide it the pipe here. it onto the screw so it fits well here. Combination of things. That aligns just right with the screws. See, the timer's good and solid. It's not going anywhere. It's level, clean, watertight, good to go. When we found the timer, the wires were pretty short in it, so we're going to have to splice them to extend it a little bit so that we can comfortably reach the terminals inside the timer. Whenever you're dealing with wire in any instance, you're going to want to leave a comfortable amount of wire there, so give it some slack so that there's not overdue stress on whatever you're connecting it to, and if you need to do any repairs in the future, you always have extra. So what we're going to be using here is professional grade irrigation wire. You won't find this at the home center. You have to go to your local irrigation and landscape supply store, and you'll be able to find it there. So we're going to go ahead and splice this together here. The industry standard now is to use white as the common. So just to be consistent, it's a good idea for you to go ahead and do that as well. When we did this, we typically stripped the wires back about 1/4 of an inch. There's the last one. So that's a nice splice. Keep it neat. You can just push it down out of the way. You have plenty of room here, plenty of slack to be able to put the wires wherever you need inside the timer. We'll actually put these in the terminals. So this is called the circuit board. These are called the terminals. That's what the wire connects to. Make it super easy on yourself. And if you're careful, you can take a drill and actually pull out those screws to a certain degree. You only want a few rotations, and you want to be very careful because you don't want to take the screws out of the terminals. That's all it takes. Alright, so we're using 18 gauge like I said, professional grade irrigation wire, but this is 18 gauge. Now again, the white is what we use for the common, and on the Irritrol, we're going to be putting it into the terminal with VC above it for common. And in the Hunter timers, it's just a C for common, but you don't want to be putting it in the pump or the earth ground or anything like that. That's not what you want. You want the common terminal. You're going to put it on the left side of the screw so that when you tighten it down, the plate is going to grab and pull the wire into the terminal. Now before we disconnected the wires from the old timer, we tagged them so that we know what terminals are going to be going in on the new timer. So the first one, and when we spliced it together, we did color matching so that on this end it's the same thing. So station number 1 was red. Again, put it on the left side. Station 2 was green. Was yellow. And 4 was blue. Alright, so there we have it. Push it in comfortably. Get it out of the way of the panel that's going to be right here. Good to go. Now we'll move on to the transformer. Once again, this is only applicable if you're connecting it to hardwire, and make sure you turn off the circuit before you start connecting things together or cutting, or you'll light up like a light bulb. So they make it super simple in the electrical industry. Black goes to black, white to white, green to green. Super easy. Get the wire connectors. So when you are connecting any kind of braided wire to solid copper, the main goal is to get the tip of the braided wire flush with the tip of the copper, so that when you put your wire nut on, the little metal threads in the wire nut grab onto both, and there's a good seal, good connection. When you're dealing with 120 volt wire coming into it, you want to use these yellow wire nuts. Then however you have to do it, fit it back into the junction box. We're actually going to be replacing this before we're done. This was the original one that was here. Still worked, but the cover just needs to be replaced, so we'll be doing that before we finish. Alright, so now we've got the wires all wired up. So we're going to, as you recall, we took all the extraneous parts off so that we could get to the circuit board easy to wire it up without having all the other parts in the way. So now we're going to put the parts back together. First part is the circuit board, or the panel, excuse me. So you're going to pop that into place on the hinges here. Pop that into place, make sure it's secure. Next part is the ribbon. We're just going to plug that onto the circuit board. Make sure that's firm so that can close. Here we have the compartment for the backup battery, and that's just a 9-volt, but we're not going to put that in until the very end when we've tested everything, made sure it's copacetic. So close that. Next is the door. As you recall, we pulled the pin, so we're going to put that back into place here. And push it all the way down. So we're good to go. So with every timer comes the user manual, and it has everything in it you need to operate it. You can put, we recommend putting the date you purchased the timer, date you installed it, where you got it from, all that information, and then keep this with the rest of your owner's manual so that you know where it is at all times and can reference it. Also with the timer comes the valve location sheet and station location sheet, so you can put all that on there. Please only use pencils since things change. Same concept with giving slack with the wires so that you have more when you need to change it. In the future, things might change. You might add more valves, change them. So you can change it on this sheet if you use pencil. On the back is the reference guide, and you can, anything you need to know about operations, it's just going to be on here. So this goes right inside the door here. Handy little Velcro, so that when you open and close it, it stays there, quick there for you to reference. Alright, so now everything's back together. We're going to go back to the circuit board, turn it on, and test the system. Alright, so we finished the installation of the timer. It's programmed. The station location sheet is in with pencil on it. We put the backup battery in. We'll go into the programming of this timer on a later video, but we wanted to show you how to install timers in general. So this is how you do it. Marker.